Hi, it's Daniel Cordova, formerly known as Ovacord. You're listening to KSSU. Remember to be yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Bronte, your promo and events coordinator, and we're here for another alumni interview. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Daniel Cordova.
Awesome.
FKA Ovacord for a bit on the air, but yeah.
Cool. And tell us just a little bit of your time at KSSU as just like a short little spiel.
I started in 2009 after doing one of those transfer orientation events and saw a table for a radio station, walked up, signed up. I believe the, at the time, only other heavy metal guy was running the table, so he and I bonded over that, had an interview, and I feel like the fact that the metal guy and I clicked is a big part of why I got a gig. So thank you to Brian Bautista, and that's how I got started with my metal show at KSSU, which then ran for 4 years because I didn't know how to graduate. And then I even did like an alumni show after that as well.
Awesome. And then you mentioned being one of the few metal shows. What made you want to bring that sound to KSSU or the college campus?
Spite. So I grew up in the Sacramento area listening to a radio station that played, quote, hard rock. And as that became less of a commercial thing for them, they stopped playing it, and I got mad that they weren't. To the point when they had like a listener like round table where they brought in listeners, sat them around a table, and like, what do you guys want to hear? And I went on a little rant at that thing saying I wanted them to play more metal. And afterwards, one of the DJs or like a promo person told me like that doesn't really sell. So then when I saw an opportunity to do my own radio show and do my own thing, I was like, well, I'm bringing metal to some sort of airwaves, whether it be online or the weak signal that's on campus. So that's I was filling a spot that I wished Sacramento had more of. And I I hope I did a good job at that.
I'm sure you did. And, like that's really interesting because I feel like metal is like really popular in Sacramento. And I'm originally from Seattle, so it's more like grunge, but I feel like coming here, I feel a lot more people gravitate towards metal, especially with like the music festival. I forget what it's called,
Oh,
but
Aftershock.
yeah,
Yes.
Aftershock. Like Aftershock is so huge.
It really is. Yeah, Sacramento's a really good scene, but like it's kind of even still like a lot of word of mouth or like social media kind of got going about the time when I was doing my stuff. It started being like a real bigger thing than like MySpace for us old people. And yeah, it's still got an amazing metal scene. It's very diverse for what it is because I feel like a lot of people don't expect that from Sacramento. People forget about Sacramento.
Exactly. And then going back, like what was Far Beyond Metal all about and what kind of experience were you trying to create for listeners, or were you kind of just doing your own thing, whatever you liked?
It was kind of my own thing, but then I w wanted to keep it heavy metal, of course, just because I felt like a show with like a defined purpose was like going to be better received to like an audience. And I eventually kind of tried to like educate, seems like a strong word, but like showcase certain countries in episodes, or like I did one episode that was all bands from Norway and showed like diversity in Norway because it's known for kind of like just black metal. And then Sweden, same deal. And like I did artist showcases where it'd be like uh a specific one is like Lemmy from Motorhead. When he passed away, I did a show that was kind of a tribute to him. So it was a lot of Motorhead, but then also these like blues things and stuff that he was done and guest spots and people covering Motorhead and stuff. So I tried to kind of, when I didn't have any other ideas, do my own thing where I just played music I liked. And then when I actually felt like I had a good idea, I put a lot of work into coming up with a playlist that told a story or taught something, which is not something you really get from metal when it's kind of just guys running around in circles beating each other up.
Yeah, I like that. And there's a lot of storytelling in a lot of different ways and a lot of like a lot of political like messaging in metal too.
Absolutely.
And then to pivot, like I remember being told you were around when KSSU won like Best Station Award or something like that. Do you remember that and what was that moment like from your perspective?
So when I joined in 2009, that was when the CMJ, station award thing came out. And we were in a meeting and we got told that we won Station of the Year and we all thought it was like super rad. And it made us feel like what we were doing was like more real because I think doing radio only online kind of feels like you're speaking to a void sometimes. So when you hear that the College Music Journal, which I think is now defunct, but it was still cool at the time, thinks that you're the best in the country, that makes you feel like you're doing something cool. However, I personally felt kind of like imposter syndrome because we got it right when I started. So it felt like it was given to the legacy acts who were there before me, but I got to, put that in my signature and feel like I was cool. And it may have helped out in the long run, but yeah, I don't know, it was super cool because I think we got a lot of best use of limited resources, which feels like a backhanded award.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that could be us still today.
I think after we got Station of the Year, we would occasionally get like, a certain person or position of the year kind of deal. But every year we would get best use of limited resources and we would win it a few times. And every time we would be like, oh, yeah, cool. So we got praise for recording out of a closet. Thanks. And now you're in is it the fishbowl? Like it's still called the fishbowl?
I don't think so. I haven't.
My bad. Maybe that was when it switched over to the inside the union from the creepy alleyway.
Yeah, we're in the union now and it looks different. Um, but I know like I didn't realize it used to be in the well because one of the alumni came and they like showed up at the well and I was like really confused. But I was like, oh, because it used to be in the well and now we're in the union.
I may have missed that time because for me it was in the alley around the corner, and then I think maybe they moved it to the well for a bit, or the order things. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
doesn't matter.
maybe Alley, well, then University Union.
Okay, okay.
Maybe that's what it was. Cool. And then like I know like you just joined around when you guys won that award, but what was the energy of the station afterwards? Like was there did your expectations change at all or like what was it like after that?
I feel like we kind of had big ideas, but then weren't sure how to get them across. Because I mean, when I actually wound up in core staff, being part of like how to do things, I kind of saw the like limited resources we really did have. But when you're a DJ and you're just getting your hours and like you have all these big ideas that you're like, oh, I want to like, cool, we're Station of the Year. Let's use that to like throw a show or something. And it was just kind of excitement in the booth and for us and like seeing our names places. But I feel like we didn't really take advantage of it the way we could have or didn't know how. Um, and like I said, once I became kind of on the other side of the staff side of things, when I saw how difficult it was to get people to like get motivated to actually do the groundwork for that sort of thing. So that's a little bit of regret about I have about that time, but also I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I think it's always like that because even as students, like you're juggling so much and then it's like you have all these ideas but no way of executing and then limited resources as well.
Hmm.
So that's always an obstacle that isn't like anyone's fault. But that's awesome still. And then you didn't just host, you also got into like writing reviews. Do you know how that came about?
Somebody just like floated the idea that we started a blog because I mean, you know, blogs were all the rage at one point, and we felt like kind of we were missing out on being our own version of Pitchfork or something. So we launched one, and we kind of just needed content. And when I wasn't doing like hours or something to, keep my show, I had spare time, and so I just started writing reviews because I was also the like loud rock metal director, which I had all these albums coming through, and if I didn't play them, I kind of just had them sitting in stacks. So I decided to start writing reviews of them and um, getting into interviews and that kind of thing. Because when you're getting all these promo emails, you only do so much with so many of them, and the rest of them just kind of go to waste. So I, you know, did some more stuff with these things that didn't really have another place to go. And then other people were doing other reviews and just general blog stuff, and it kind of became its own branch of the station that was really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear because we still have our blog and everything. And it's a way for volunteers to get hours.
Hmm.
So that's cool that that's been alive. since then. And then afterward, you also mentioned going into music journalism. Tell us a little bit about that journey of yours, even after the station.
So it's funny because I actually just got off a meeting with the website people I write for Metal Injection,
Mhm.
and that all started because of KSSU. So one year, South by Southwest, the big music festival that happens in Austin every year. I don't know if it's still the case, but we would send somebody basically as a station representative, and it was typically the manager. And this one year, the manager wasn't sure if he was going to go. So our advisor suggested that I go because I was very involved in like the metal people that I had contacts with as, the PR people putting the loud rock on the air. I had these good relationships with them. So she thought send me that way and I would do basically the same stuff. It'd probably be less metal focused because I'm supposed to be representing the station and all that. Last minute, manager decided he wants to go. And I'm like, I'm going to go anyway. I'm just going to go without a plan and without like passes and figure it out. And he and I shared a hotel room and we went off on our own adventures. He did all the like networking, schmoozing stuff for KSSU, and I just did the same thing, but for all the metal people. And on that trip, I wound up meeting with my PR people that were there. So this one guy named Munzie from a PR firm called Skateboard Marketing, he would literally push me to the front of lines and push me into shows in front of security people and just tell me like I was okay to go in. And they'd just be like, "Well, this guy's got a lot of authority. I guess he's right." So I got into these shows because of him and this company called The Syndicate. Um, None of those people work there anymore, so I can say this. They literally gave me this guy's pass to getting to shows pretending to be him. I'm 5'5", and this guy's 6 foot tall, has a full head of hair. We look nothing alike, but we learn that nobody looks at those passes. So I'm going to all these shows, and outside one of the shows, I'm in line. I see these two guys named Frank and Rob who run at the time this website called Metal Injection, which is like the still is the like heavy metal news outlet like out of all of them. Um, that's like online only. I'm sure if you get into print ones, you could look at the numbers and argue, but they're like, we're number one, still number one. And I recognize them from their videos. And then that night or the next night or something, it's a blur because it's Austin. I'm 21. There's alcohol everywhere. It's free. I'm on a roof after getting pushed to another show by Munzie, and there's a metal band playing on a roof across the street that we're watching. And I'm looking around, and it's the CEO guy who runs Metal Blade Records. It's Rob, it's Frank, it's Munzie, it's all these people who are like in the business, and me. So again, we've got some imposter syndrome, and I have a much enough liquid courage to just walk up to Frank and be like, "Hey man, I'm a big fan of your website, and I think it's like really cool that you guys are here and like what you do and that stuff." And I talked to Rob, tell him the same thing, and then I had been writing for this other website, just doing this one column where I was talking to people about their first bands. And I mentioned like, oh, I'm the first band writer from this other site. And Rob's like, oh, you should like, he gives me tips about it. Like you break that up into multiple posts and he gives me all these things. And the next week when I get home, I decide to email him and I'm just like, hey, so we met on the roof well, very intoxicated. And it was cool to meet you. And like, you gave me some tips. And if you're ever looking for other writers, like, I'd love to like try something out with you guys. And he's like, funny you mention it. We're looking for somebody to take over our weekly new release column. And I was like, all right, cool. So just write out the new albums that come out every Friday. And that was 14, 15 years ago. And I've been doing it ever since. And in that time, I've also done reviews, interviews, and all this stuff for Metal Injection. And I still do. And like, it's a cool thing. It's just above a hobby in how my capacity to do it. Like, it's definitely not me doing it for a living, but it was definitely a really cool way to get my foot in the door and learn how to take things I learned at KSSU and put it into another way or another like world that's kind of related. Yeah, and metal injection is still good to me. Sorry about my microphone.
That's an awesome journey, and it really shows that when you go into college radio, it's really the opportunities that you go for, or like you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and be in that sort of imposter syndrome sort of like mindset, and you just have to go for it. And then that's awesome that you've been doing it ever since and being plugged into the industry in that way.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people will kind of fall back on the same art that they enjoyed when they were younger, teenagers, early 20s, that kind of thing. But keeping up doing this weekly release thing has forced me to stay current with like modern metal, which I think has given more enjoyment than just, returning the same dozen albums my whole life. So I again, imposter syndrome when I'm going to like an aftershock or something, and I'm going to the early stages to see these like bands who are definitely younger than me, but they're killing it in their own way, and like I know about them, and I'm getting kind of looks because like I'm the tiny bald man in jean shorts in the corner enjoying these bands, but like I am not out of touch in that way, and I pride myself on that, and I think it's important that one keeps doing that, but this is my way of doing it. Don't
Exactly.
atrophy even in your likes.
Yeah. And even like the younger generation going into things, like they're deeply and heavily inspired by like the OGs and everything. So it's like it's really cool to see that and how that grows and into its own thing. Cool. And then you said that you had skills that you developed on the radio station that you carried into your music journalism. Do you have any like specific skills or anything specific you can talk about that you learned at the station and then you carried with you?
I mean, the blog was just kind of jumping in and writing reviews and kind of copying people and figure out what language to use and that sort of deal. And then, like I said, being the Loud Rock director, we got all these emails for opportunities with press that we didn't do anything with. So I started interviewing people both for the radio station's blog and just kind of my radio show and learning how to do that. Basically, like facing my heroes and just, humanizing them so you weren't nervous and then kind of getting over that. And it's like a very, very specific thing that I picked up from KSSU, but I think I have to thank the station for that because again, just things being left on the table and like jumping on them and then trying it. So it forced me to try new things because no one else was doing it.
Absolutely. And then for my last question, do you have any advice for current DJs or even like college students who are wanting to go into music journalism but may not know where to start?
I feel like this is hard because music journalism is kind of it's taking a hit right now because I mean, this is old man yelling at cloud, but AI is kind of making it harder to find an excuse financially to hire people to write about music. Like, of course, you can definitely find the human touch in there, but if you're just creating something to get ad revenue, like it doesn't matter if there's a person behind it, but like finding your voice and finding a unique voice and doing that is going to be very important. Uh, my apologies to people that run websites. Just try everybody. Like find a contact thing for a human being and just like throw pitches at them. It's this part has not changed. I took magazine writing classes in community college, and they're basically just like at the time it was literally send letters to people with pitch ideas or emails for I to just do the same thing. Like that part's not going to change. And if you have a paper trail, hope they don't steal your idea, and if they do, get them. Uh, but really, it's just try stuff, and that's for writing. College, same deal. Like I joke that it was spite that got me to radio, but like um, I was kind of a shy person, and getting on a microphone in that little booth helped me kind of come out of my shell, and just trying something it felt really impossible to become a DJ, and I love radio my whole life, so doing it this way made me realize how possible it was and opened doors in like very weird ways that I am very appreciative of still.
Awesome. That's great advice.